Hello viewers, in this video we are going to talk about how the buy now pay later companies are failing, why are they failing, what is that regulation that has come in the market due to which BNPL players may not be bullish any longer, their growth will stagnate, and how this stagnation in their growth or even some of these companies failing or they might be even culled from the herd, how will it help the credit card companies, and how can this be an opportunity for credit card companies, which is basically a loss for BNPL players. So let me start with the quote, and the quote is, "One man's loss is another man's gain." And here the loss is for buy now pay later firms, which will actually be helping the credit card companies to grow even faster. It will help them to grow even at a much more rapid pace at which they were initially growing. So what are the buy now pay later companies or fintechs or firms which are very prominent in the Indian market? Zest Money, Simple, Lazy Pay are some of the companies which you may have used when you are doing these online transactions. At the point of checkout, these companies give you a convenience to pay the amount later, and in turn they are giving you a loan or a credit which you are supposed to pay them at a later point of time. There are also digital credit cards which are very popular, or they have grown at a very fast pace recently. Slice and Unipay are some of them. Now, even though these fintechs have been growing at a very fast pace, they were basically leveraging, or they were basically, even though they were lending, but the underlying bank or NBFCs for all these fintech players were actually banks or NBFCs on whose behalf they were lending. And there was a partnership between Zest Money and, say, a banking partner or a NBFC which they had, and these BNPL firms were basically giving guarantees to banks, and these guarantees was in the range of even 20 to 100%. So say a BNPL company like a Zest Money was giving loans of 100 CR rupees, so it was even giving a guarantee in the range of 20 to 100%. So in the case of a loan going bad, or for a NPA in finance words, these fintechs which had a lot of VC money were ready to give guarantees. So the entire risk of giving a loan or an unsecured loan to people who were not banked, or who did not have a very good credit history, or who had no credit history at all, the entire risk was being taken by these fintechs. Because they were giving a very high level of guarantee in terms of even these loans going bad. And there are reports in the market that Zest Money had loans as bad as 10% of the entire loan book. And still they were able to grow at a very fast pace. All their attention was at growing rather than giving safe loans, which they knew that the end customers will pay back. So in for example, Zest Money had arrangement with almost 13 NBFCs. Now there is a new regulation which has come into play somewhere around June of 2023, where the RBI is basically stipulating that the banks or the BNPL players will only give a guarantee or of 5% of the loan portfolio amounts. So the guarantee which they are supposed to give, it cannot exceed more than 5% of the loan book. And earlier there was no such limit. And since there was no limit, these BNPL players were mushrooming at a very fast pace, but now it has been capped at 5%. So if the capping happens at 5%, what is going to be the change in the dynamics of the market? And the change will be that in the absence of higher FLDGs, which is basically the first loss default guarantee, banks and NBFCs who are actually giving the loans, they will have to take now more risk. Now, in case of a loan going bad, 95% of the loan amount will have to be borne by the bank. So initially, banks were at very low risk because they were getting a guarantee from all these fintechs in case of a loan going bad. But now the entire risk is now moving from the fintechs to the banks. So now the banks are going to be very, very careful how they engage with these buy now pay later companies, and they may not allow these buy now pay later companies to give loans to anyone, because now they will have to be doing the risk profiling of any user, which initially they were not doing, because they knew that these fintechs are going to pay, or they are going to take the risk in case of a loan going bad, and the loan going bad in many of these fintechs was as high as 10%. Now another change which has happened is now these BNPL players have to actually give a deposit of 5% of the loan book, and they have to deposit it with the banks, so their working capital will also now go down, because now at the starting of the year, or at the starting of some period, they will have to deposit that money with the banks, which is 5% of the potential loan book they may want to give out in a specific year. So the capital needs of the BNPL players will go up, and also now the VC firms, or all the venture capitalists which were basically investing in a lot of these BNPL companies, they have also become a little cautious, and they are not very, very bullish on them because of the change in the regulation. Earlier these BNPL players were basically playing on the consumption story of India, and they were not really worried about the risk profile of certain customers. But now that has to change. These companies have to look at giving loans to only customers which have the ability to pay back. So again, this is one man's loss, which will help to grow the credit card companies. And as you know, we have covered in one of our videos that the credit card penetration in India is very, very less. Only 5% of Indians own a credit card, and if you compare it to some of the developed countries in the world, as high as 83% of Canadians own a credit card. 67% of Americans own the credit card. So the potential of the credit cards to grow in India is huge, and specifically because the BNPL fintechs are at a loss, it will actually help to amplify the growth of a lot of these credit card companies. And again, these are some of the stats that the credit card dues are increasing year on year, and they are growing at a very rapid pace. So my suggestion to many of you would be that look at these SBI credit card and payments, even ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, which are the top 3 banks to give out credit cards in the Indian market. Look at the right timing to purchase these stocks, because of the loss of the BNPL companies, these credit card companies will definitely benefit. So this is a quick video on letting you know why you should be investing in the credit card companies and how the regulations are actually benefiting it. I hope you like the content of this video, and I will request you to share this video, like the video, or subscribe to our channel so that you continue to get these important updates. And I wish you all the best in your investment journey.